Okay, well, welcome to session 5 of our teen yoga. Today, we are going to start to move into our throat chakra. We're gradually moving our way up through the chakras. Last week, we did our heart chakra and focused on gratitude. And this week, we're going to talk about our throat chakra, which we tend to associate with our voice. But it's also important to remember that part of speaking our truth is hearing the truth and also listening as well. So just keeping that in mind. And before we start, if you do hear unusual noises, I do have my cats. They've been making a lot of noise today, and I actually have a dog in here with me tonight. So if you hear unexpected noises, that's what the situation is. So I liked this quote, "Speak your truth gently," because it's possible to be both honest and kind. So even when we talk about being able to speak our truth, we want to remember to approach things from the place of ahimsa, which we talked about in our first session, I believe, which is doing no harm. So when we do choose to speak with honesty, we try to be sure that our words are not creating harm for others or for ourselves. So using our voice to speak kindness and to speak love. So our breath practice for today is going to be our Ujjayi breath, which I often call in my practices Darth Vader breathing, and you'll understand why in a moment. And we also call it ocean breath. If you've ever had one of the big shells from the ocean that you can hold up to your ear and hear it, it's kind of a similar sound. And when I was first taught Ujjayi breathing, I was told to bring my hand in front of my face as though it were like a mirror, and I was trying to fog the mirror up. So if you want to do that a few times, you can just kind of, and we're going to practice that, although we'll have the mouth closed. So it's just a little bit of restriction that we create in the throat. And for some of us, it is a more audible sound. I'm the only one you're going to hear with the microphones off. But if you feel like one week yours seems a little louder than the next week, that's perfectly normal too. But it's a little bit of vibration in the throat. So we take that big inhale through the nose. And then when we exhale, we can just imagine we're creating a little restriction in the throat. And you'll hear that come out. So let's go ahead and do a few rounds of that. Feel free to close your eyes if you'd like. Sit up nice and tall. Inhale through the nose. And exhale with that restriction. Let's do that one more time. And then as we finish those rounds of Ujjayi breathing, just take a moment, kind of check in, see how you're feeling, see if you notice any shifts that have maybe taken place in the body. I like to call it a nice grounding breath. It can help bring us back to the present, help us feel a little more stable, help to calm sometimes anxiety if we're feeling it. And then we're going to move on to our next slide. And so our stress tool for this week is going to be what we call EFT tapping. And the diagram in the picture shows the different points. So we're going to move through those. And then when the follow-up email comes, you will get a link to a website. It's called The Tapping Solution. I actually have a book here that I love to use. It's called The Tapping Solution for Parents, Children, and Teenagers. And it has some sample scripts and why tapping works and how to use it. It's a great resource. But we're going to just kind of talk through it a little bit briefly today. Tapping works. There's a lot of studies showing that it's evidence-based. It can help to lower stress, to lower anxiety, to reduce pain, cravings. It can help alleviate feelings of depression. And part of that is because it helps to acknowledge the thoughts that are contributing to the discomfort. And when we acknowledge those thoughts, then we can take our time shifting our energy away from the negative and moving it towards the positive. So you can see the points there. I'm going to actually take my glasses off so that, because part of it is our eye. There's the karate chop, which is a great one. I love to teach that to school-aged children because you can even just do it under your desk. You can think about just karate chopping your hand. And that may be all the tapping that you're able to do, but it's a great resource. You could just move it into an inconspicuous area. So we have the top of the head. I like to start with the top of my head. Some of the videos I have seen end with the top of the head, so you'll come back to there. But I like to start with the top of my head, and I'm using my right hand to start. So I'm going to stay pretty much on the right hand side of my body until I come into my last position, which is the underarm. So we'll think about the top of the head, and you really just tap. I've seen it different ways. You can use a couple of fingers. You can use all your fingers. You can use one individual finger. Speed doesn't really matter. We move from the top of our head to kind of the inside of the eyebrow, or you can think about the space between the eyebrows. And then we go to the outside of that eyebrow. And because I'm with my right hand, I'm going to go to the outside of my right eye, under the eye. And then we move under the nose, down to the chin, the collarbones, which I kind of find a central position there. And then we move to the underarm. So because I have my right hand, I'm going to go into my left underarm and tap there. And again, if you're choosing to do this somewhere public, that might seem a little awkward. So you can leave out the parts that you don't need. You'll still get the benefits. And then as I move to my left hand, again, starting at the top of the head, moving to the inside of that left eyebrow, the outside of the eyebrow, under the eye, under the nose, the chin, the collarbones, and then perhaps the right underarm. Okay, so that gives us our points. And of course, we can choose to do karate chopping instead. Still a great resource. So a script that is pretty basic to stick with is even though X happens. So for today, I'm going to use that I overslept. But it could be anything. It could be a breakup, an argument, a bad grade, anything that is making you feel a little overwhelmed that you need some relief from. And then the second part of that is I still deeply love and accept myself. And if that's a little more than you want to take on, or that seems complicated, you can take on, I choose to be calm, even though I choose to be at peace. So you can kind of pick whichever phrase works best for you, can make it work in any situation. So we'll start with the even though I overslept. So we're just going to start to tap. Even though I overslept, 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 even though I overslept. And then I'm going to switch to the opposite hand for my affirmation. I can still choose to have a great day. I can still choose to have a great day. I can still choose to have a great day. I can still choose to have a great day. I can still choose to have a great day. I can still choose to have a great day. I can still choose to have a great day. I can still choose to have a great day. And of course, we can choose to do that with the karate chopping instead. So it's one of those things, the more we practice it, the more we're prepared for those times when we need to find it. But tapping is a great resource. So feel free to look into it a little further, create your own script, move through those points in a way that works best for you. And then from there, we're going to move on. There's a little more information if you're interested about the throat chakra. As we move through our practice, I want you to just kind of think about some of the best ways to help balance this chakra. Of course, the breath work, any movement through that throat chakra. And then we tend to associate it from a physical perspective with primarily neck and shoulders. So you'll notice our practice today is going to be a little heavier on movement through neck and shoulders. And we're going to add in a version of our Warrior 3 that's going to be from the floor. So just kind of something that you can change or try in a different way. I think that's always helpful. But remembering it's important to speak our truth. Your journal prompt for this week will also include that. And I think journaling is an excellent way to speak our truth. There are oftentimes things that it's maybe just not appropriate to say, or again, if we're not speaking from a place of doing no harm. But if you have a journal that you can keep private, it's a great way to allow ourselves to speak our truth, to vent our feelings, our emotions, because they're real and they're valid. and you should feel as though you can do that. So we're going to make our way to our practice. We are going to start in just an upright position for the time being. I'm going to shift my camera around a little bit. If you want to move around a little bit, you are welcome to as well. And if you want to grab anything that helps you feel a little more comfortable for Shavasana at the end, you can do that too. So give me just a second. I need to pin myself. Takes me a minute. Okay, I think we're better here. All right. And as always, if you don't have an actual mat that's close by, you can adapt in any way. You can use a towel if you're on a comfortable floor. Our floors are a little harder, so it's nice to have the use of a mat, especially when we make our way to the floor. So we'll start in just kind of a nice standing position. I always like to warm the body a little bit. So we practice our mountain chair flow a lot. You want to move through that a few times, just kind of moving some space, moving some energy into those extremities. We're practicing in winter, so it is cold. So it's nice to warm the body a little bit before we start. If you want to add in a few forward folds, you can do that as well. And then we're going to come back into that mountain. We're going to go ahead and stand here. So another nice practice to move some space and energy into that throat chakra is the ability to hum. So humming happens on our exhale. And if you remember from our previous talk about the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic, we want to move into that exhale a little more. It helps us to find balance, to offer ourselves that chance to rest and digest and reset. It's our brake pedal. So you are welcome to add some humming in. I also am going to send the email that I recommend that you hum or sing. Either of those are fine, especially if you tend to get overwhelmed in loud situations or places. You could sit in the back of a room and hum and probably no one would ever even notice that you're doing it. But it will help you to lengthen that exhale and find a little more space there. So you're welcome to hum, or if you want to come back into our Ujjayi breath practice. So we do that big inhale in, little restriction through the throat with our exhale. You may or may not be able to hear me because I'm a little further from the camera now. So let's do a couple more inhales, a couple more exhales. And then we're going to revisit our spinal movement. We practice this pretty much every week, but I introduced it in a big way our first session. So our spine moves 6 different ways. So we can twist to the right and twist to the left. We'll start just with some gentle twisting. Those are the first 2 ways. And we're moving the whole spine here, and the neck is part of the spine. We're going to focus on the neck here in just a moment. And then we'll come back to center. And then we can stretch to the side. So as we bend the spine to the side, we call that lateral flexion. And it's 2 more ways that our spine is able to move. And then we create our cat-cow. So we've done this from seated, we've done this from the floor. We are going to move into cat-cow on the floor here. I'm just going to bring my hands to rest gently on my thighs. When we tuck into that cat pose, we think about that kind of C shape in the spine. And then when we find our cow pose, we can press our tailbone away, open through our heart. You'll feel your neck lift a little bit if it feels okay. And we'll move through that a few times. And that's called flexion, which is cat, and extension, which is cow. And then we'll come back into our mountain. And then we're going to explore those movements just through our neck. So our spine is part of our neck, but we're going to isolate just the neck portion for the time being. So we'll start with that twisting. So we're just going to kind of rotate. So we'll turn to look over one shoulder and then the other. And we never want to move into a place where we feel pain or discomfort, but we do want to feel sensation. We want to make sure we're getting something from our practice. And then we'll come back to center. And then the way we find side-to-side movement with our neck, I always like to think about just dropping one ear to the shoulder. You'll feel a gentle stretch through the opposite side. And we all have varying ranges of motion in our neck. So just be mindful, yours might look and feel very different than mine does. And then lastly, we come into that flexion and extension, which just means we drop our chin to our chest for flexion. And that's how we practice our cat. And then we lift the chin to a place that feels okay for our cow. And especially as we move into flexion and extension with the neck, we want to make sure that we can still breathe. And then we're going to come back into that nice extended mountain. The arms sweep overhead. And then if you're okay, we're going to go ahead and float the hands to the shoulders and do all of that again. So when we bring the hands and the arms into play, it might make it a little bigger movement. So again, just kind of moving through the torso, trying to keep my hips still. My rib cage is moving, which is our thoracic spine, but it's going to help encourage movement through the neck and the shoulders. And then we'll come back to center. And then that side to side movement, I like to think about just dropping one elbow and lifting the other. And then as we come into that cat cow, we can draw elbows in and then open them back up. So my dog is closer to the computer than I am. So if you hear dog sounds, it's the dog. And then we're going to go ahead and shake that out, move around. We're going to make our way to the floor and we're going to stay on the floor. I'm going to actually get up later to read a guided relaxation to you all, but you guys are going to stay on the floor. So if you want to take anything with you, want an extra layer, anything like that, feel free to find it. I'm going to shift my camera down just a little bit so that you can actually see my practice on the floor. We're going to start in that all fours position. And what we're going to do here is we're going to come into our cat and come into our cow and offer ourselves the use of some side-to-side movement with the head. So I'm going to tuck into my cat to start. And then if it works for you, we'll think about gently rotating the head from side to side. And then we'll bring the head back to center. And then again, if it works for you, we'll just kind of lift and lower the head. So tucking the chin and then opening it up. And then we'll do those same things from our cow. So I always like to find a neutral spine and then lifting into cow. And we'll do the same thing here. So we'll start by turning the gaze over one shoulder and then the other. And then we'll come back to center and then that same option. So because we're in cow, we may not be able to lift the chin very much, and that's okay, but we can certainly tuck it and then lift, making sure that we can breathe in any position we move to. And we'll finish with the head nice and open and then sinking back. So we've practiced child's pose before. We're going to go ahead and ease our way into our child's pose. If you'd like to walk your arms out nice and long, resting your head on the floor, you can. Another nice option if you want to stack your fists and let your forehead rest on your fist. That can be really soothing for our nervous system too. And then from there, we're going to press up. We're going to come forward onto our bellies. We've practiced our cobra pose before. I'm usually turned side. I'm going to kind of face forward. But we'll move forward onto the belly. And then from here, we're going to lift our upper body. So I like to think about pressing the front of my legs into the mat so they're nice and supported. And then you can kind of lift your hands. We really don't want to put a lot of weight in the hands. We want to allow the muscles in the back to help us create that opening and create that space. And as we come into our baby cobra, we'll keep the gaze just looking right below your eyeballs. And you're welcome to gently turn the head from side to side here too. And then we'll make our way back to center, and then we're going to go ahead and rest on our bellies, which can be a really soothing place to find rest. You can support your forehead if you want. If it feels more comfortable for you to turn and rest on one cheek, you can do that as well. We'll take a couple breaths there. And then from here, we're going to roll onto our backs. I always like to cue when I'm in a class to tell people to just bring one arm up by their ear and then rotate onto that side. And then you'll roll into your back. I am sideways on my mat, so it's going to look a little more awkward. I'm going to actually push up. And you can choose to do it in any way that works for you. We're going to do one pose from our backs, and then we'll move into our final relaxation. So we're going to practice our warrior three from here. And if you'll think about what our warrior three tends to look like, we have one leg down, and we'll extend one leg out behind. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and lift one leg. Somebody's going to help us. And your leg may not be completely straight. I'm going to move Sunny out of the room so you all can see the warrior three. Come here, Sunny. Come on. Okay. So from that supine position, we're going to go ahead and extend one leg to the sky. This is my right leg that I have extended. It doesn't matter which one you start with. And I like to think about, even with a bent knee, we can create that nice flat foot, imagining that we're standing on the floor. And then our left leg can automatically extend out. So if you prefer to bend your left leg a little or a lot, you can do that here. And just like our standing warrior three, if you wanted to bring your arms to the side, you can. Or up by the ears. There's a lot of ways to practice this. But this will just be a variation on our warrior three. We've practiced it every week so far. And then I'm going to draw my right knee into the chest, give it a little hug. Left knee coming in to join. And then switching that out. So as my left leg extends toward the sky, and again, you can bend the knee a little or a lot. We'll try to imagine that foot is pressed into the earth, and we can release our right leg out. It can go long, or it can have some bend, and we can choose to extend the arms, reach the arms. They could even rest on the leg, just like we do in our standing warrior three. And then again, when you're ready, we'll take our time. We'll draw that left knee into the chest. Right knee will come in to join it. And one of my favorite poses, just a nice, easy ball with the legs drawn in. You can rock side to side if you'd like, kind of massaging the low back. You can even rock front to back. Any rocking can be really soothing for that nervous system. And then you guys are going to set up for Shavasana. I'm going to actually get up and come closer to the computer so I can read a guided meditation. And as we move into Shavasana, knowing that as we finish, you are welcome to stay in your place of rest as long as you would like. So we won't finish the practice with a specific goodbye. I'll end the meeting, and then you will know that you can stay there as long as you need to. So as you find that comfortable, supported position, you need to tune back into the breath. If you feel comfortable doing so, you can add in some of that humming, or perhaps your Ujjayi breathing. And maybe you've had a busy day, and maybe you're preparing to head into a day that's busy. But for now, we're going to let go of what will happen or what has happened. We're going to let go of the minutes behind us or the hours to come, allowing ourselves to be free in this moment. Taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Often the busyness of the day keeps the body and the mind moving at such a fast pace. Starting to allow yourself to slow down, to enjoy an easy breath here. To imagine your body and mind flowing like a river. A fast-paced, flowing river picks up sediment along the way and can become clouded. It can be hard to see through that water, to see what lies ahead. So just like yourself throughout the day, the mind, the body, they can become cloudy. You breathe in and breathe out, and start to slow down the pace of the mind and the body, like we're slowing down the pace of the river. As the river slows, it turns into a stream. We notice that the stream is calmer and quieter, and the sediment that you've picked up from thoughts and movements of the day starts to settle down. Breathing in deeply and out deeply. Slowly, with each breath, the stream moves further along to finally flow into a gentle pond. In this gentle pond, the water comes to a standstill. Any thoughts you've carried with you start to settle. Like settling at the bottom of the pond and the water, your mind can become calm and clear. Just like the busy mind and the active body, you can slow down too. You can allow your troubles to fall away. You can allow yourself to return to your true nature of calm and your true nature of clarity. Breathing in deeply, breathing out slowly. Feeling more and more relaxed with each breath. Feeling calm. Enjoying the stillness within. And staying here for as long as you'd like, knowing you can always choose to take the breath and the practice with you throughout your day.